Hello everybody, welcome back to the InGear Motorsport live stream. If you watch along tonight and you think you fancy joining our league and having a go, just so you know, there will be a fun race next Tuesday and we run these live streams bi-weekly, so we'll be back for 2 weeks' time for the finale of what will be our Euro Series Championship. But on with tonight then. Tonight is rounds 5 and 6 of our GT3 Euro Series.
Had to think then.
Did have to think. But yeah, the guys are at Hungaroring tonight. We've got a live stream coming up, 2 30-minute races for you all. I'm Mackenzie. I'm going to be in the box tonight, and I'm joined with Charlotte. How are you doing today?
Yeah, all good. A bit tired, not going to lie, but we're going to make it through. So looking forward to this evening. How about you?
Yeah, we've both had long days, everyone. So
strap in.
Bear with us. Give us some comments to keep us going as we go through. But yeah, actually on that note, we do see the comments in commentary box across all the different platforms where we're streaming. So yeah, say hello if you're there. Let us know who's tuned in, and as people join, we'll try and get some conversations going as we go through the night. But if anyone is joining for the first time, first of all, thank you. Hopefully you'll enjoy the racing tonight. As I say, we have a Discord, we have a community, we run open fun races, and we do quite a lot of stuff. So these are our live stream nights, as I say, every other Tuesday. If you haven't seen the format before, we'll bring up the timing screen for you now, and you can have a little bit of a look at what is coming up tonight and when. But as I say, 2 30-minute races. The drivers are just starting qualifying for the first race at the moment, so we'll jump into that. You can see it on the smaller screen to the side at the moment, but we will be going full screen into commentary very, very soon. And then once they do that, they get a short break, which is what the official practice is for, just for them to have a quick chance to test out any setup changes or anything like that.
Have a breather.
Just have a breather, have a break. Even though it sounds like not much doing for 30 minutes, doesn't it? But it can be quite a bit.
I can now vouch for this one a little bit because I've been spending a bit of time on here. So yeah, always had respect for it, but I guess an enhanced, newfound respect for it even more. But I'm sure we'll delve into that over the next couple of hours or so.
That is a good point. Yeah, we will get into that at some point. So for anyone who doesn't know, Charlotte and I both have, we're lucky enough to kind of race in the real world quite a lot. But I've done a fair bit of sim racing now over the years, and Charlotte's just started. So as we say, we'll get into that at some point. How she's found it, having a bit more of a go lately on Assetto, isn't it? But anyway. As you can see, folks, that is the timetable for tonight. And again, just a quick reminder, we can see the chat. We'd love to see some comments coming through from everyone. See if anyone said anything yet. We'll have a quick glance. People just joining in. But let us know what you think. We also run a driver of the day point option for race 2. So basically, anyone in chat votes for their favourite driver. The driver with the most votes gets an extra championship point. Because they are competing for championships tonight. But what we'll do, we'll jump into qualifying, and then we can kind of talk about some of that stuff and how the standings are while the guys are finishing off qualifying at the moment. So, at the moment, then we're looking at Liam Sharman in the white McLaren. There are, so there's quite a few people joined in, and we have a mix of both pubbers that can join, i.e. Anyone that's not registered to the series can still join as kind of essentially a guest driver for those races. But then we have around 15 or so regular drivers who are actually competing in the championship. So currently that championship, without any drop scores or anything like that, and if you're not sure what that is, we can go through it later. But without any drop scores, it's currently Robert Bjorkman who's leading the way for Spearhead Race Engineering. Dominic Stallman is second for Vegas Sim Performance, reigning champions Vegas Sim Performance at the moment. Defending off of the previous GT4, Porsche Cup and GT3 series that we've done. So Chrissy Palmer's third, just missed out at the Italian series we did last time, and quite well placed now after a car swap, which means he essentially lost some points. But on drop scores, Chrissy Palmer will technically be leading the championship right now. So it's very tight in the top 3. Roland Stallman not far back from that in P4 as well. Harry Melvin in 5th, who also has only actually done 1 race with us. He missed the first round, so that will become his drop score. That will bump him up. So I say the top 3, really the top 6, 7 even are very, very close on points. And then it drops into Danny Price, Mitchell, Renberg. Mitchell and Renberg are newer to the series. We've got a couple of drivers who haven't done all the races who are a little bit further down below that, who may or may not turn up tonight. But that's part of the fun. So it's all open for people to come and enjoy if they wish. But at the moment then, we're talking about Robert Bjorkman leading the championship. He's currently on provisional pole on your screens. The black and gold coloured Lexus just going through turn 1 there at Budapest. So Charlotte, what are your thoughts and expectations heading into tonight's racing?
Yeah, I have to be quite honest with you. We actually haven't discussed this too much over the last week to see. I've been too focused on myself and on this, to be honest with you. But yeah, no, we haven't. Don't know. I'm going into this one a little bit blind, in all honesty, which actually sometimes I think is a good way to go into it. So, I know you've been online with Chrissy and Harry quite a bit, so I'm kind of expecting good things from them. I think I'm right in saying that Dom Roland have been on quite a bit as well, from what I can see. So yeah, expecting them to put. They've been a little bit sort of split up compared to what they had been sort of historically, maybe towards the back end of this year. Dom Roland, and if it's your first time watching this, I father-son duo, so for Vegas in performance. They're usually, you know, very, very close on timings together, super consistent, always bringing the results. But yeah, definitely been a little bit more split up. So I'm thinking that they might kind of close the gap on one another a little bit more. So that I think that will be interesting to see. But what's your thoughts kind of going into this? Because you probably have a little bit more of an insight on this one.
Yeah, you're right. I saw the Stallmans have been on testing a little bit. I know Chrissy and Harry had a bit of a go at testing as well. I think Chrissy's done more laps out of those two. But yeah, the Stallmans definitely were looking much closer together. I mean, a couple of nights ago when I done a few laps with them on the server, it was looking like 400s between them for quite a while.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what's going on there. Heath, probably should do a little bit of a shout out to Heath and the InGear Motorsport. So he's one of the new drivers on the InGear Motorsport team. So I see that you guys are rocking a new livery for this one. So I think that is down to Heath.
Has Heath switched then for this one?
I don't know. I've seen previews of it, or am I like teasing this a little bit too early on? But again, someone needs to make my livery for me because no one's done that yet.
Oh, I did make you a quick in-game livery the other day.
Yeah. Okay, so I want a custom one, but anyway, we'll get on to that one.
Yeah, I'm sure we can figure that out. Yeah, so Heath will be for the British GT series, which we're doing next. So that'll be starting in April. And again, for anyone looking to get involved in the near future, that might be something to look for. So a lot of the guys in our group that play, bearing in mind that they're not all from the UK, a lot of them do quite enjoy the British tracks. So we're looking forward to getting stuck in with the new British GT DLC that launched fairly recently for the game. So yeah, we've been doing a few fun races and things on the British tracks, sort of in preparation for that, and also just to get a chance to use it. Because we already had this GT3 Euro Series set in terms of dates and stuff already, so we kind of rolled with that and added the fun races in as well. So it's all been quite nice to get a bit of a mix. So at the moment then, we have 6 minutes and 15 seconds to go for qualifying. What I'd like to do is say we're looking at Chrissy Palmer. So if we could jump in car with Chrissy, we could then take you for a lap of this Budapest circuit and give you a bit of an idea what it's like from a driver's eye view. Charlotte's doing a bit for the gram and getting us to do commentary box selfies.
I just took a selfie.
Which you can check out on InGear Motorsport's Instagram, but we are on most other channels as well. So yeah, come and say hello on social media. Good way to keep up to date with what's going on as well. Putting pictures and media and new race dates and stuff like that out. So here we are then. So we're coming into the back end of the lap with Chrissy. Yeah, we are. We're coming into the final complex here. So we're about to start. We're about to start soon. So that's turn 13. It's a 14 corner track, just under 4.5 kilometres long, just under 4.4. So not the longest track, not the smallest, but got some really cool elements. It's actually up there in my favourite tracks, I would say. Quite a nice long start finish straight, and then it comes into a good overtaking opportunity into turn 1, which also is very handy for us watching. So hard on the brakes down into a hairpin, which actually has a big open space on the exit where you can run wide, but that AstroTurf that Chrissy just ran over can be a little bit sticky. It kind of zaps power out of the tyres a little bit, so you don't always want to run quite as wide as that, ideally. Coming in nice and tight, it drops away from you. It's probably one of the hardest corners because it's off camber. So as you're trying to turn in, the car's just washing to the outside of the track. Bit of a bump there. Can surprisingly go wrong very fast, that one. And then one of the best corners on the track, although he has got traffic, although that is Liam Sharman getting well out of the way. But it was enough just for Chrissy to have to be a little bit cautious there on that one.
I thought he was going to run back over.
And then we've also got a very bumpy chicane coming up as we approach halfway around the lap. You'll see how much of this Chrissy uses. Bit of a bump there, bit of a bump there. You can see the car lifts off the ground a little bit, and then we come into some fast-flowing S-like sections. The back end looking a little bit lively on that InGear Motorsport McLaren that he's got there.
But it was enough.
Chrissy is running success ballast, I should point out early on as well. He'll tell me off if I don't do that. So he's got 35 kilograms of extra weight on his car, where he won the one of the previous races and then comes second in the one after that.
Yeah, he's running very, very heavy on it now, isn't he?
Yeah. It's definitely enough to start noticing it. It's not. It wouldn't expect to suddenly go from first to last, but it's enough to certainly hurt you a little bit, the time and so on. Melvin, after a very successful debut InGear Motorsport race weekend, also is running some ballast. He's got 15 kilograms, so we'll find out where he is in a minute. So Chrissy's going to have to go again. He'll get a chance for another couple laps, but where he had to back out of of Sharman being off the road just now, that's kind of scuppered that one a little bit for him. So we go again, and what he'll be looking at is but you try not to look too much as a driver. In the top left, you'll see the delta, which is going red or green, depending on how he's doing. We just had some very weird stuff going on in the commentary box version of the game. There we are. I think we're back and stable again, so that's good. One of the good things about sim racing is that the cars can't break down, but one of the bad things is you constantly have to deal with how good the internet connection is, because of course when you're driving at high speed, every little bit counts. But luckily when we're watching in commentary, it's not so bad. But yeah, how's everyone doing? If we had any hellos over on chat, Charlotte, because I can't see it on my screen at the minute.
Sorry, I'm just
sorry, I see you're doing something.
all over socials yet. Not yet, but yeah, if you're on YouTube, Twitch or Facebook, yeah, we've got a system where we can see everything. So yeah, drop us a little hello, see who's around, see how everyone is getting on. I was going to say as life starts to go back to normal a little bit. I don't know if we're quite there yet, are we? But hey ho.
Yeah, maybe not quite.
We're getting there, we're getting there. So you picked up on a really interesting point, which is something that I guess I can talk about a little bit here. The delta and the information that's in the top left-hand corner of the screen. Do you want to just kind of explain to that why we've got this in-car view for the guys that can see that, who's watching at the moment? Do you just want to break that down into a bit more detail? What does the green mean? What does the red mean? Why you should be looking at it? Because I know it's something for me at the moment. I'm kind of getting to the nitty-gritty stages of chasing the time, that my eyes kind of keep going off into the left, and that's where I'm kind of messing myself up, really.
Yeah, and actually just before I do, as Chrissy's pulling over, if I could get our wonderful race director in the background, Mr. Ben Meikle, to switch to something else so we can see what's going on. There we are, lovely. Who's that? Robert Bjorkman. Chrissy did just go faster, I should point out as well. But anyway, yeah, so in answer to your question, Charlotte, the delta in the top left essentially is your way of knowing whether your current lap is faster or slower than your best. So not necessarily anyone else's, but your own personal lap time, whether it's going faster or slower. And the reason it can be as much a hindrance as it is a help is when you are trying to fight for those last little hundredths, tenths of a second. It's very easy just to kind of watch that and not watch what you're doing so closely, and then you miss an apex a little bit, miss a braking zone a little bit, and when you are talking in such fine details of time, then that's it. You kind of scrub off what you had, so that's it then. So it's really important, and you actually see it in the real world quite often, even with very professional drivers. They end up having to put bits of tape or stickers over that part of their dash. So in the car, it's actually on the screen.
Funny you say that. Yeah, I was one of them. My dad, I remember coming into the pits. It was actually in karting, it wasn't in cars. I remember he just got like the duct tape out, like the sound of the duct tape, and literally like him and like my team manager at the time just like slapped it on the the timer in front of me, which is and again, for anyone that's watching it, appreciate these karting timers aren't just like a stopwatch that's attached to you. You can see like your breakdown of the splits and everything on the track, so you can see where you're chasing, where you're losing. And they literally just slapped it straight over there and went, right, stop watching, just go and drive. Then we'll come back and we'll assess the data. And I think just removing that kind of like level of distraction is really, when you're chasing, it's hard. Like you have to literally talk yourself into being quite calm around everything, which it sounds easier than it is, but yeah, if you're chasing a time, especially if you're looking for those last few attempts, it's difficult.
Cool. All right, everyone, that's qualifying at the end. Before we go through the full grid order, we are going to go to a quick break. We're back with you in a sec. Welcome back then, everyone. We are getting ready for our first race of the evening at Hungaroring in Budapest for round 5 of the GT3 Euro Series. Drivers lined up and ready. It's a very busy grid, actually. It looks like 24 cars unless some snuck in at the end there. But Chrissy Palmer, with 35 kilograms of ballast, has took pole position. He took it quite late in the session as well. So good going by him. Can he hold on with that as 30 kilograms though, 35 kilograms. Bjorkman second. Korhorp, who's joined in last second, third, Stallman fourth, Weissner in fifth, Heath in sixth, Mitchell in seventh, Melvin for InGear Motorsport in eighth, Roland Stallman in ninth, Hurt in 10th, Curran in 11th, Sovnik in 12th, Fandler in 13th, Mori in 14th, Alvaro in 15th, Bofferty in 16th, Vans in 17th, Renberg in 18th, Devo in 19th, and we will cover through the rest as we get going. I just see Liam Sharman in 22nd there as well. So we've got a big grid and they're about to start the race. So they're in their formation phase at the moment. So we're just waiting for the lights to go out and then we'll see what happens. But if we just get right up to the front of the grid, which we are, that is good. So you've got Chrissy Palmer, the orange car, gets off to a good start on the right-hand side of your screen, and so does Weissner in that AMG as well, just that one space further back. So here they come into turn one. Chrissy's got cars either side of him, Bjorkman on the outside. Stallman goes around the outside of both of them. Looks like a little bit further down the pack, they're actually even three abreast in places. It's going a bit weird on my end over here, so it's hard to tell what's a crash and what's lag, but it's pretty mental, isn't it, actually, Charlotte, on our screen at the minute. It's like they're playing chess, going back and forth.
It's like Sky Electrics.
Yeah, so if there is incidents happening on the front end, then apologies, I can't quite make that out yet. I think I just saw...
Yeah, so it's Bjorkman and Chrissy Palmer that are neck and neck at the moment.
Okay, that's calmed down a little bit. So Dominic Stallman is currently running in fourth. Bjorkman is in third. Chrissy has managed to hang on to his lead for the opening laps, which is good, but he has got Korhorp in that orange AMG all over the back of Chrissy in the orange McLaren. So it's orange 1-2 at the moment, although only one of them is an InGear Motorsport car. Korhorp has just dropped in tonight. We've not seen him before. So always good to see some new names appearing in the server. And another busy grid as well, which is great.
Yeah, super busy, 25 on the grid. Half an hour race. We'll see how many actually make it to the end and don't do my pet hate half dropping out halfway through. But yeah, you can see John Stallman, he's very much on the back of Bjorkman at the moment, isn't he? He knows that, again, he knows where to stick with. But Chrissy, again, we need to kind of put credit to this. Chrissy's running with 35 kilos of ballast at the moment. He's got that AMG, that orange AMG as well. So it's very weird to see an orange AMG not being an InGear Motorsport car.
Yeah, well, it's the HWT livery now, isn't it?
So
in the real world.
Having to kind of adjust to that a little bit. But yeah, Chrissy's looking strong, isn't he? You know.
Well, yeah, as the AMG does go to the outside, but then goes wide, well off the track, and is actually going to lose 2 or 3 places because of that. Manages to feed back in behind, into 4th. That's now put him into the clutches of Kirk Heath in 5th at the moment in the Aston Martin. So still currently in the West Midlands Aston Martin racing machine for him. Melvin is in 6th, so he's gained a position. Mitchell, I'm pretty sure, has gained a position or 2 as well, currently running in 7th for Spearhead Race Engineering. And I think Curran's not too far back from that. Let's just take a little look. Yeah, in 12th. So that's sort of makes some of the key players in teams and championships to be looking out for. But Robert Bjorkman, championship leader at the moment in 3rd. Chrissy Palmer, technically leader on drop scores, in the lead with 35 kilograms of ballast. Now that will hurt him more probably as the race goes on. So he'll be looking to build a gap now while the tyres are fresh and while they can. But also has to be careful he doesn't cook them too hard. But this is a great little battle as the AMG has a look at Bjorkman. That was well spotted by Robert, actually, Bjorkman to not turn in then and let the AMG through. Could have argued that was a bit of a late lunge on the AMG, but good driving by both drivers not to collide there. Has given a little bit of a gap to Dominic Stallman there.
Yeah, I was just going to say, actually, so Heath was about 6/10 off of P4, but he's actually managed to claw that back, and you can see that he's making his Aston Martin there. Look, I mean, I'm squinting at my screen because it's so blurred and small at the moment, but he's managed to get himself right up close to Bjorkman now. And again, he needs to latch onto him. We know that this Lexus is super fast in a straight line, so he just needs to kind of latch on and get in that toe, doesn't he?
Yeah, definitely. And you can see already this front pack is getting closer and closer all the time. And it's the guys that I'm sort of seeing on testing, putting the laps in. They're just getting closer and closer. I know he's been on a bit lately. Melvin, not been on a Assetto Corsa that much. He kind of come over from iRacing a little bit and still does a lot on iRacing. So he's still having to put the laps in on here, but he has been recently in the last couple of days, and you know he's at the sharp end of the grid in a track that he didn't really know that well a couple of days ago. So definitely paying off. Just having a little bit of a look on my timing screens to see who's where. Trying to figure out where Roland Stallman's ended up because he was around 9th. So yeah, he's 10th at the moment for Vegas in Performance. So they are at the sharp end of the team championship, him and Dom, father-son team. Always good to have them. They've been with us quite a while now in the server, which is great. As we're having a good little battle here then as Heath goes up into 4th place and takes Robert Bjorkman. So the Lexus was at the front end in qualifying, but getting a little bit beaten up in the early stages of this 30-minute race so far. And he'll be looking to see if he can get back. But the thing is now, if they fight too hard, as you can see the sun glistening through the trees there, looking wonderful, that Harry Melvin is just catching onto the back of that pack as well. So the number 27 McLaren, easier just to say the orange and purple McLaren though, because it stands out quite nicely.
The InGear Motorsport McLaren,
yeah. So we like orange, all right.
Secretly hoping that he's going to latch on to the back of them as well. And you kind of see this with Harry actually. He does manage to just kind of latch onto the back of people and then just chip away at it. You know, he had a really strong, like you say, a couple of weeks ago, a really strong sort of opening 2 rounds with to the championship really in a proper way, didn't he, with InGear Motorsport, as he is your newest recruit, as is Heath as well. With that, so getting pretty close here between the Lexus of Bjorkman and Heath. Oh, that's very tight. That was a little bit of contact there, wasn't it? But what that has done is give Melvin the perfect opportunity to start having a look upside Bjorkman here as well.
Now, most of these guys that we've been seeing so far are actually in the Discord chat. So we allow drivers to come in and use the Discord for talking mid-race if they wish. Some drivers choose to stay in their own Discord. I think the Stallmans stay somewhere else. But anyway, they are in the chat. So Heath would have been able to comment to Bjorkman there as he was coming through and let him know. But yeah, that was a rather close little move. I'd say firm but fair. Both cars seemed fairly level going into the apex. One thing we can sometimes do, and I haven't heard from the guys in the background yet because it was a bit of a chaotic start, if we can do replays or not, we'll find out. But if not, you can go and head over to our socials. So feel free to check those out. InGear Motorsport on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn even as well.
Yeah.
For the replays.
And with our Instagram, they're literally going up live, any replays or anything like that. So you can be doing 2 in 1, watching us on the stream and watching them. So probably worth mentioning that we've got Ben Meikle. So Ben's back with us. I always call it this weekend, but this Tuesday. So yeah, Mr. Race Director, the one that's controlling all the cameras. So when we're doing subtle, strange hints, he's the one that's putting the cameras where they need to be and pretty much kicking anyone out that may need kicking out. And just, it's kind of got, he's like the god, isn't he? He's just got all the power there. And then we've also got George back with us as well. So George is part of the InGear media team and works alongside with us to kind of make this evening happen for InGear Motorsport. So he's there frantically on the socials, unless it's a selfie of me and Mackenzie, then yeah, I'll take credit for that one. But yeah, he's working there in the background as well. It's a challenge, isn't it, to kind of manage, and I think it's worth pointing out to anyone that's new to watching this and maybe new to Assetto Corsa in its way. We don't have the luxury of having 5-6 different camera views in the way that it would be if you're watching Formula One or Blancpain Le Mans or things like that. We see what you guys see, so it's actually quite a nice raw way of watching the racing.
Yeah,
well, with that.
Yeah, definitely, and I can kind of click through the cars in the commentary box on my end and see that separately to the live stream end. So kind of check things out a little bit in the background, which helps. Although it's definitely taken us a while to kind of get to a setup that we can kind of all function with at a sensible level. But as with all technology, it has its issues sometimes and connection and so on. I think we should jump up just to the top 3 because it's looking a little bit dicey at the moment. As Chrissy Palmer in the orange McLaren is coming under pressure from Dominic Stallman. A little bit sooner than I thought, potentially. He did build up about a 1.5 second gap, but it does just take one small error.
Yeah, I mean, 4 laps in and Stallman's all over him, isn't he?
Yeah. And if it's one thing we know, it's Dominic Stallman tends to just get better in a race. He doesn't tend to slow down. Whether it's the way he sets it up deliberately or just the way he drives. It takes a couple laps to really get going, and he's no slouch anyway. And then once he does, he just finds another sort of 2-3 attempts, depending on the track, and just romps away. If you give him an inch, he'll take a mile, quite literally. So Chrissy will know that. He will know that it's not. He doesn't want to give up the lead too easily. It's kind of the top 3 that have broken away a little bit at the moment, and Chrissy goes a bit deep there into turn 3. Manages to hold that as he clips that curve, which is very
Jesus.
See Coolhawk coming on the lights now as it's all getting very, very close. And actually Dom lost out a little bit there on time, I think, where he had to back out as Chrissy bounced off that curve. And now Dom's coming under pressure.
I was going to say, Dom's in a really tricky situation here. He's actually in an orange sandwich, isn't he? Because he's having to manage chasing Chrissy and also manage being chased as well. So he's in a really tough position at the moment.
But top 3 doing a nice job at the moment. I'm tempted to say, can we have a look at the rear wing camera of Chrissy Palmer, because that's quite a good one sometimes.
I would stay where we're at. I'd stay where we're at because there's going to be too much going on.
Yeah, okay. Maybe we come back out of that one then.
I mean, I guess.
AMG goes to the outside. Manages to hold it. That's a very hard corner to get the car stopped. You're coming downhill braking there. As we come into the final complex, turns 13, then 14, rounding off the lap at the Hungaroring circuit. Chrissy's still then in the lead, manages to get a little bit of a breathing buffer now, if you will. And then Coolhawk does make the move stick on Dominic Stallman then at the moment. That was a nice little move, actually. It was a little bit unexpected around that part of the track, but made it stick.
That's one of those battles where you just sit there kind of like watching it between your hands, don't you, to make sure.
Yeah, definitely. One thing I would say actually is a couple of nights ago when they were testing, I know Chrissy was a good couple attempts quicker, but that was without ballast. So I think in that sense, the system kind of works a little bit, doesn't it? Because it's turned what might have been a 2-way fight into a 3-way fight for the lead of this race. As much as I'd love it not to be.
I'm not going to lie, my pet hate is going on here now. So Coolhawk is flashing his lights at Chrissy. That is purely being done from a distraction point of view. So again, don't think anyone who's watching this at the moment is that new to racing to think, oh yeah, I'm going to flash the lights and Chrissy's going to nicely and politely pull over. And if anything, it's the complete exact opposite. But yeah, it is used as a tactic to distract people. I would say probably more so for someone that is blatantly slower though. So maybe if you're starting to lap people and you're coming up against someone that's going to get a blue flag waved at them, so you might use that. But I don't think when you're in P2 that, I don't know, that's a personal thing though. What do you think of that, Mackenzie? Would you be concentrating on flashing your lights, or would you just be concentrating on?
It's a hard one, actually. I think sometimes I would, sometimes I wouldn't. It depends if I know the driver as well. But it certainly wouldn't be doing it to Chrissy, but we're essentially teammates when we're racing on this. So probably wouldn't. Oh, gets a little bit squirrely on the back end. That might give Corp the inside line into the last corner. It does. Can he get it stopped? Can he hang on to it? Or Chrissy get the drive on the way out? Again, very hard corner. Now that means that Dominic Stallman's going to be coming over the back of this fight as well. As you can see in the background, that Bjorkman is charging back through as well and challenging Heath for fourth place. I think he might have even done that. Yes, he has. In the back of shot, Lexus comes back into P4. But here's the fight then for the lead at the moment. And it's just become a fight for second between Chrissy and Stallman, who are competing hard in this championship. And Corp is not necessarily in the championship, but clearly wanted to get into the front and try and lead this race.
Maybe you do flash your lights then.
It certainly worked for him.
Interesting though, he did run out quite wide on that corner. He was lucky there that Chrissy made a little bit of a kind of rare mistake again for Chrissy. It's very rare that he does put a foot wrong. You know. Okay, we just had a panic there. So we're watching on 3 different screens at the moment. And on Mackenzie's computer, it looked like Chrissy had literally just flat out driven into the wall. I'm pleased to say that he hasn't. So he's currently running in P3. Corhorn has managed to put a 7/10 gap between himself and Don Stallman. And then between Stallman and Chrissy, there's a 5/10 gap. So that top 3, which was a very close fight and literally a sheet of paper between the 3 of them, has now, I wouldn't say relaxed, but it's chilled out a little bit. But actually what Chrissy is starting to find now is that it's coming into the clutches of P4, 5 and 6 with that. So that's and that's when we're going to start to see that ballast really hurting him. And it's probably worth mentioning here that the moment you don't finish in the top 3, your ballast gets taken off of you. So if he's that fast with ballast and he finished P4 and ended up with no ballast going into the second round this evening, just kind of setting the scene and setting the story here with it.
It's also a lesser amount for the last race, which is a 90-minute endurance race. So there's always a benefit to not having ballast at the last round for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this Lexus has started to, or Bjorkman starting to kind of light himself up a little bit there, isn't he?
Yeah, I think so. And if they're not careful when they do have a fight, which is looking pretty inevitable at the moment, Heath is not far behind that battle as well. So lots going on in the top 7 or 8 cars tonight, which is fantastic to see. And most of them are all part of the regular drivers in our series as well.
Yeah, and I think it's worth mentioning as well, if you're new to Assetto Corsa, and I guess I'm probably someone that I can now kind of speak from the outside coming in, as much as I sit here and do the commentary and I've raced in the real world and things like that. This is a very fast grid to put that into context. And I think over the last year, because we've been running this for nearly a year now, we've seen our regulars get better and better now. I always would say Heath is a perfect example of that. I think he, and I don't think he would mind me saying this, he was kind of mid-pack, making some mistakes here and there, but he is now consistently top 5 when it comes to pace.
Yeah.
Not necessarily race, but like in terms of pure pace there. So it is a very, very fast grid. So if you're thinking, oh, I want to come into this InGear Motorsport kind of server, but I'm not sure if I'm quite there, come in, join in, because actually everyone helps each other get along. People help each other with setups. Sharman's a really good person that sticks to this. He probably doesn't get the time on it that other people get, but he's still in it.
I was trying to see where he was earlier, actually. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, no, and I think it's just with that, come in, keep going with it, keep having a stab with it, and we've got some really good, consistent drivers in here that show up every other week or every week for the fun races in between. You can see it, can't you, with it?
Yeah, just always moving forward and racing with the same people as well. You and I both know from the real world, you learn what you can and can't do with certain people. I see Heath and Melvin looking a bit close in the background there, almost banging doors, but giving each other enough room. I think that was Melvin having a look at Heath, that would have been.
Yeah.
So challenging for 5th. As Bjorkman is now all over the back of Chrissy on our screens, the orange, gold and red car that, in the colours that Chrissy races with, plus the orange that we force him to race with as part of an InGear Motorsport driver. But yeah, we're kind of forming a second train here before too long, of which Chrissy's at the front of. It's not a nice place to be when you're that lead car, because you've only got one place to go. You can't gain anything, you can only lose. You've just got to keep pushing and hoping that you don't make a mistake. But looks like the Lexus is thinking about trying to get through there. Some real nice close racing so far, and I don't want to jinx anything, but the guys are doing a good job of this. Hard to overtake into here, but looks like Bjorkman's having a look. Chrissy might have no choice to yield. He's going to try as well. Heath goes through as well. Chrissy might make him go the long way around at turn 13 though here. I think he is going to. Melvin's then going to come in on this as well.
Can hear Ben in the background going, oh.
I know, even the race director's getting a bit of excitement going on, everyone. You can't hear it, but we can.
He might have to make hard decisions. So he needs to be watching closely at the moment.
I've just seen car number 12 has picked up a drive-through for track limits, which is Hyler. Jay Hyler. But anyway, let's stick with this at the moment, because he's still trying to get through on the inside of Melvin and technically hang on to that 5th place. Melvin has to go a little bit wide on the way out. So does Chrissy, just through trying to get the power down the way out there. Chrissy, remember, has that 35 kilograms of ballast that's now really starting to struggle as the car's kamikazed off on our screen back here, but they're all back on track again. But you can see it fine on the live stream. Oh, Chrissy and Melvin having a little touch there, I think. So now the teammates,
this is where the
teammates racing each other.
Twitchy foot of like Christian Horner's going on,
yeah.
on the pit lane with that.
What this is all doing, though, is playing into the hands of especially Korhorp up front, but Dominic Stallman as well, who's now 5 seconds ahead of this pack, just where they're fighting so much. As I see car 12 has just cleared its penalty as race control just flashed up.
Yeah, definitely. And once this is kind of settled down, if it settles down, we should probably go and check in with Roland Stallman. So he's currently running in P10. And then we've got Michael Curran, who's, again, another regular driver in P11. A little bit out of position for these two. But again, this is just kind of showing where the top group of the regulars are really fast. Throw in a couple of fast pubbers, and this is where we again we throw up polls as well in our Discord chat to work out what to start doing for points and things like this, because this is, you know, one of the things that's we're discussing for the next championship that we're going to run as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's looking like we will do that. So basically, pubbers won't score points.
Yeah,
we kind of operated.
I think it's a good thing.
It makes sense. I think the reason it wasn't like that is in most real championships, if a guest driver comes in, they don't score points, but they do take them away if they finish in that place, which is kind of how we work in currently, but we won't for the next season. They'll just be the registered drivers that score points. That's Mitchell now having a go at Chrissy. So Chrissy will be probably not a happy bunny, having led the opening stages of this race. He just fell backwards as the tyres probably fall to pieces at the same sort of rate. Warren Heath, I just saw him, has said, nice pass Kirk here. Was a good move, that, wasn't it? How you doing, Warren? Good to see you back on here again.
Yeah, he's been doing a pretty sterling job, hasn't he? Because this has been quite a full-on race. I mean, we've got 9 minutes left of a 30-minute race, and I don't think we've come up for air yet. So no. All of a sudden, I've had a second win of energy for today. So
this is what you need there. You just need a close live stream to watch. You can see the car smashing off that curb there with some sparks flying. The detail is always quite impressive in this. So there's probably just enough breathing space to figure out. Right, I can see Sharman down in 21, which is lower than he was. He was a little bit higher at the grid than that. So I don't know what happened there. Let's just check out Curran and Stallman, shall we? If we could do that, please. Hint,
Mr. Race Director. It's all right. He was probably just opening his can monster.
Yeah, he's on a monster because
giving us a load of abuse in our ear.
He just said he was. Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
I'm always right. We've not learned.
Well, ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? Okay, so here we are then. Spearhead Race Engineering's Michael Curran in the black and gold Lexus, just going through shot there at the back. And we're sort of tracking Roland Stallman, car number 5, for Vegas in performance. points currently run down to 10th place on the current rule system that we use. So 3 points for 10th place. And currently that's occupied by the white and red Vegas Performance car of Roland Stallman. And Curran will be trying to get himself up into those points. And then the next two guys between them two and Mitchell are pubbers. So essentially not scoring points, but in this case, taking them away, as we were kind of just discussing. So nice little pack there. That could easily develop into quite a close battle as well, couldn't it? Again, just while we are just having a brief moment without people running two abreast around most of the track. If you do fancy joining in with these races, we are live every other week as part of our main series, whatever it's running. The next one will be British GT. But we've got one more round of this, the final round in 2 weeks. And then in the races in between, we have our fun races. So feel free to come and jump into those. If you're new to the game, you want to start off in a sort of more informal environment, fun races are great. But if you fancy taking on the main series, then again, it's open to everyone to enter. And even newer drivers are welcome, as long as they're able to kind of follow blue flag rules if need be and things like that for the fast drivers. But for the most part, it all works quite nicely and everyone gets on really well. And they're a really friendly bunch as well. They're all helping each other with setups and tech issues and VR issues and whatever it might be. Everyone's all quite friendly in the
Who knows?
server.
I might make the debut one day.
Well, Charlotte may well. She's been practicing on SNET lately, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm going to be like a one-track specialist though, which is not what I want to be. We need to kind of get over the fact of VR makes me feel quite poorly at the moment. So we're working on it. But yeah, no, it's good. And I think it's one of those things as well. I've kind of always taken a little bit of a back step when it comes to it because I can't nick your computer all the time, but the level of setup and detail that goes into this, what you guys are doing, so I know you do it, but the rest of the team and everything like it's huge, isn't it? So what steering wheel you're using, what pedals, what computers you've got, screens, etc. It's massive, isn't it?
Oh yeah, there's so much. I guess it's a bit like changing setup on a car. There's so much you can change on your PC and your Steam setup.
Slightly cheaper though, but
still a lot cheaper than real racing,
yeah.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Very expensive, but still cheap.
Yeah. And once you buy it, it's there. You can't necessarily smash it off into a wall and have to buy a new one. If you do that in the virtual world, it's quite okay. Right, that pack is looking quite close, but actually I'd like to bring our attention back up to Kirk Heath and Bjorkman and Melvin, because this is the fight for third now that is shaping up for quite a nail-biting climax to what's already been a very, very good race to watch. And it's currently 10-8 in game time. So also getting later, tyres getting colder, and I think that's also not helped Chrissy Palmer's cause tonight.
Yeah, Melvin's starting to run off a little bit wide there, as you said that, so you kind of jinxed him with that one, I think. He has managed to, though. He's all over the back of Heath, isn't he?
Yes. And if you remember about 4 or 5 laps ago, he was looking at Heath, and then in the chaos of Chrissy getting overtaken, lost out. So coming into turn 1 is a good space to do it, which they're now crossing the line to start lap 14, of which the leader is already on. Coolhawk out in front by 3.5 seconds. Don Stallman's held on fairly well in that 3.5 seconds, but then it's 7 seconds to this 3 that we're watching now. Didn't manage to do anything that time then, Melvin. So Melvin in the orange and purple McLaren, Keith in the mostly blue Aston Martin. Car number 38 for Heath, 27 for Melvin. Have we ever acknowledged that Heath uses your real-world race number?
Yes, ages ago.
Yeah.
But I guess
We don't
that's
say it very
why
often.
it's probably why I've always been a little bit biased to him because yeah, 38 was the race number of choice. Until I went out to Europe though, I was always number 38, and then first did I go out? Yeah, no, and then I went out as number 4 in Europe, which is where I finished in the UK. So it was kind of, I think that automatically got put to me, which I did feel a bit weird about because you kind of have your number, don't you?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we went with it. 4 was an okay number. I had a pretty good year, so.
It's one of the other luxuries that we have for the drivers in this server. You can't always guarantee it, but we do allow them to have the number of their choice, providing someone isn't already in the server using it. Oh, now that's a little bit of a whipsy there. So Harry Melvin's just picked up a drive-through, and we literally saw him run right off the track there. You get 3 warnings of that, and then that's it. Now, he has 3 laps to take that, which will actually take us to the end of the race. So he has the option to just put in the pits on lap 3 I think he is actually just going to go into the pits by the looks of it. You can see him just entering in the back of shot there. There he is.
That's quite a big whoopsie.
Yeah, that's going to cost him. And in fact, if we could just put the camera onto him and you can see kind of where he feeds back out in a moment's time, you can just kind of get the impression how painfully slow it is and why it's so nasty to get a drive-through penalty. Look at the cars as they go past.
I was going to just say, this is where you start to see position. So he's currently already in P7. This could very easily and very quickly put him out of points.
And he's currently down into 11th.
Yeah, and that would actually put Curran into the points. So
it will update as he goes through the next split. There is a couple other cars back there that he's managed to avoid those, so that's good. Or avoid losing out to.
He's going to be kicking himself for that one.
Well, it's not been the best InGear Motorsport race, this one. After a 1-2 in the last race and a 1-3 in the race before, it's yeah, not quite worked out fully to plan for the guys, but it does mean they will have all their ballast cleared for the next race, because Chrissy on 35 and Harry on 15 were running, yeah, just that little bit more. Right, now what is going on at the sharp end of the grid? Because I know it was all getting quite close. If we go back up to see Curran and Roland Stallman are both now in the points thanks to Harry coming out. So they're now 9 and 10 rather than 10 and 11. And then if we try and pick up on Chrissy's now in 5th, Heath in 4th, Bjorkman's pulled out a 1.5-ish, 1.6 second gap in 3rd, and Dominic Stallman's 3 seconds back from the leader in 2nd. So it's literally in the last couple minutes that everyone's fanned out. Other than that, it was pretty full on the whole way through, wasn't it? As we approach 8 PM in game time.
So does that mean race 2 is going to be a night race? I know, sorry, that's probably quite an obvious question, but...
No, not necessarily. Depends how Ben set it up on the server early on, actually. So I'm not sure on that one.
Oh, Ben's going to give us a surprise, but he's actually going to tell me, just so I know, because I want to know. Thanks, Ben. And
6 PM.
Oh, I was going to wait until the thing's ready, but yeah, okay.
Or was it 6 AM?
Oh, that's so unsmooth. That's so unsmooth. That was terrible. What was that?
Or was it 16 o'clock?
Wow. Okay, stop digging. Driving into the night is quite a challenging thing. We've spoken about this previously in other races where they've gone into the night, but having that change of track temperature, track light as well, because these games are so realistic, does take a bit of adaptation. So you can see there the lights that that are on the screen now does really well kind of show how dark it actually is out there, and especially for the guys that are using VR, probably more so, you start to really see the effects of that. So we're coming into the closing stages of the race now, so the last sort of 10 seconds or so. So it's probably worth us putting the camera to Stallman, because he's our regular crossing the line in P2. I mean, Cohawk, yeah, great drive, great job. If you sign into it,
savage. Yeah,
well, if you sign into it, then yeah, you'll get the credit for it. But let's drop down to Stallman. Another really solid result for him there.
Can I just get us to go in car view as well, just so people can kind of see the difference? I mean, it doesn't look too bad, but again, like Charlotte says, when you're in VR, that definitely makes it a bit tougher. But just you're normally looking well beyond the kind of what those lights are showing you right now. Like, you're looking at the turn-in for that next corner already. You're then looking at the apex by this point. You're then already starting to pick your eyes up for the next corner, and you notice that's dark, that distance ahead. Certainly that's where you want to be looking. The further ahead you look in a race car, the more it slows down what you're seeing and gives you a chance to respond. So it's a good kind of general method of helping yourself go faster and smoother and consistent. So you're generally looking a long way ahead. Plus, if somebody's sat facing the wrong way on an apex, you will see it sooner and be able to react. So that's always helpful as well. You can just see Bjorkman 1.6 seconds down in the background. Just to tell you what, considering he was down to about 6th, nearly 7th place, getting challenged by Melvin earlier on, he's brought it back up into 3rd place. which will give Bjorkman, if this is how it finishes, 5 kilograms of ballast. Dominic Stallman will get 10, and well, Korhop won't get any because he's a pubber.
So Chrissy will go into the next round with no ballast on, and Heath has been fast throughout this.
And he had 5, so it won't really make a big difference, but that will also get cleared.
Yeah.
So a couple bits of work to do in the background then for race director, because he's the one that assigns or unassigns that ballast for the guys. He also captures results and does that type of stuff for us to then go through and sort points and that type of thing out later on. He goes, hint, hint. Knows us too well. Right, there you go, by the way. That was called crossing the line. Dominic Stallman, second place, first of regular registered drivers. So fantastic effort there. That was a really tough opening stages and he played it really well. Bjorkman, great recovery to still get a podium in that race, coming in 3rd for Spearhead Race Engineering. So well done to him as well. Definitely had to work for that one. We've seen that Lexus, particularly in the opening race at Spa, absolutely flying. Almost looked effortless at times, but that was definitely not effortless for that podium. Heath then just misses out for a podium, so Kirk's in 4th for West Midlands Racing, and Mitchell is in 4th. So that's a good points haul for Spearhead Race Engineering, actually, because they've got Bjorkman in 3rd, Mitchell in 4th. And then as we look a bit further down the order, looking at the regulars, Ronan Stallman and Curran, as I said, picked up 9th and 10th, which is where the points positions end. And I think we had something like 27 start and 21 or 2 finish. One just left there, but there was 21. So not too bad. Not too bad. Most of the cars that started finished. Sometimes people like to drop a little bit swiftly, don't they? Which you don't like. So while we're going to have a little bit of a break in a minute, but as everyone's coming into the pits, tell us a bit about how you're finding it on Snetterton then.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I'm finding it annoyingly addictive already, which is one of those things. So you might lose your PC, or you might get the option to upgrade your PC, whichever way this all starts to pan out in the future. But yeah, I think for me, where I haven't driven on track for such a long time, it's actually been really nice to go to something that reminds me that I can still do what I was doing in a way. So yeah, really enjoying it. Super fun, super addictive, like I say. It's so realistic. I mean, I have done so many laps around Snetterton in the real world. It was where my team was based, very close to there, so it was kind of like my home track during the 2 years that I was with that particular team. So it's just bang on, you know, the curbs, like the little bit of kind of like dust, sort of gravel coming off of the curbs, just everything is spot on. I think the biggest thing for me is adjusting from a screen to VR.
Have you tried VR again recently, or
not since? So I've dabbled in this game a little bit before, haven't I? And then I've been distracted by one thing or the other, but not now. And I think yeah, you do need VR because it allows you to kind of look into the corner that little bit further and things like that. So yeah. We shall see, to be continued. But I think there's one thing getting fast, then you've got to learn to be fast around other people, and then you've got to be able to race around the other people and be fast and mind the space. There's a lot to take in, isn't there? Yeah,
something I've really learned from time doing this as well is that it's a bit different racing in terms of how you would race other cars in a sim versus the real world. And you see it a bit here, like particularly when Chrissy got overtaken earlier, he left enough space that actually Heath was able to jump up the inside as well. Those moves happen in the real world, but you probably fight it a lot harder.
You can run closer to the line, can't you? Closer to the edge, I guess, is maybe the right expression. Just because you can like physically see it and feel it that little bit more with it. So yeah, no, really enjoying it though. Really enjoying it. Thanks for letting me steal your computer. Who knows? Could be a late entry. Could be a guest driver. Who knows? We shall see.
Cool. Right. Well, we'll continue the conversation around race 1 and some of these other bits in just a sec. But in case anyone is just joining, or you joined the back end of that race and wondering what's coming up, please don't go anywhere. Or if you do, come back in a minute because there's another race, another qualifying, and we'll bring the timings up for you. Just have a quick look. so you can see what is coming up for the rest of the evening. But essentially, we're going to do it all again. So we get another 15-minute race, another qualifying, and then another point-scoring 30-minute race as well. So plenty more action coming up your way. It'll be a similar kind of setup. The weather simulates a sort of real race weekend for the most part. Occasionally throw in a deliberate wet race, but sometimes it could be wet just by pure chance. But it was a pretty dry, hot track condition there, so we should expect it to be a similar kind of condition again, but I'm not complaining because that generated a pretty awesome race, I would say, from start to finish. As we saw, it's Coolhorp who was there and took the win. He did, I think he's actually left the server now, which I'm going to do anyway, because that's the thing we do as admins in the background to help people join. It's a weird glitch for the game. So I've just done that. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, isn't it, what happens in race 2. Chrissy now won't have ballast. The fact that it's official practice right now is essentially a break, so the guys can go out, do a bit of testing if they want to, that type of thing. So don't worry too much about that. Yeah, Charlotte thoughts for race 2 then, I guess.
Yeah, I think Chrissy's definitely going to come back through the pack, isn't he? Because you could see that he had the pace, but he was carrying that extra ballast. Whether the setup, though, that he's got on his car allows for it to not be affected by the setup being taken off, or whether he's got 2 setups that he's going to quickly switch from one to the other. For that, I don't know, maybe if you've got a bit of inside intel on that one.
Yeah, it's a good point. So he set his car up on the without ballast,
okay.
And then we added ballast on. So I think he should be all right. He should be quite happy.
Yeah, so interesting to see that. I think Heath will have another really solid finish. I think we need to kind of watch out for Heath in this championship because he is literally just banging the points in, isn't he? He's so he's being pretty, consistent, isn't he? And when you start taking drop scores into account and things like that, he's going to be there or thereabouts for sure, isn't he?
Yeah, he actually has the luxury of having a bad first race, which means that when you drop his score, his points will stay the same, whereas others will have to drop a race where they took.
I get what you mean.
So like you say, it's one of the luxuries. And if anyone's watching thinking, what is drop scores? What are they talking about? It's a thing a lot of championships do in the real world as well, where essentially if a driver has a bad race, every single driver has to, by rules, have to drop their lowest score from the standings. It doesn't count. And then by doing that, it means everyone kind of gets an opportunity for a slightly worse race. Or, for example, if they can't make a race, it's quite handy, which, in sim racing, we're all here for fun. Stuff happens. People can't always make every race. I know Kid's got headset issues with his VR. Danny Price said he's going to use his drop score tonight because he's not feeling great. So, it plays well for that as well. So it's another sort of thing that we
gives a bit of a breather, doesn't it?
Yeah, because we were doing this every week at one point, and obviously there's people out there that stream multiple times per week, and hats off to them because it's our work, but we're all kind of doing different stuff as well, so it works nicely, I think, to give everyone that breathing space, like you say. Cool.
Never too much of a good thing.
Yeah, it's true. And I get to race on the weeks that we're not streaming as well, so I jump on the fun race server with the guys. I just thinking, should we have a chat with someone, actually, see who's around still?
Curran. He said he was happy to last time. He said,
well, that was mid-race. He said he's happy to.
Well, let's ease him in and speak to him and say how's he feeling. I think he was brave saying that, but he's volunteered, so.
Cool. All right, Michael Curran it is. Charlotte spoken, everyone. Mr. Curran, are you there?
Oh, you're looking for me?
Yes. Oh, I thought you were going to go stuff.
Sorry, I'm in the middle of practice and I'm just listening to the guys chat. Like, and your voice. How you doing?
Yeah, like the voice of God coming through. It's just what you want. Yeah, all good. Well, that's practice for when you said that I'm allowed to just talk to you mid-race whenever I want.
Yes, that's true. You can. Yes.
Oh, for God's sake, why did I say that?
And now, everyone, we've got him saying that on stream live, so we can point back to it at any time.
Yes.
All right. Well, just a quick one then. If you're trying to do some laps, how was your race? Talk us through it.
Yeah. So it was quiet, to be honest. sorry, I'm just going to jump back to the pits.
Sorry about that.
After saying that, and now you totally caught me out and I went all over the place. So I was qualified 11th, I think, and held that for the first few laps, and then I ended up I was stuck behind. Well, I wasn't stuck behind Roland, but I was doing the same pace as Roland, and I just couldn't get anywhere near him. I got a few tries to get past, but I just couldn't make it stick. So I just thought, right, I'm just going to sit here, wait and see how it pans out. Sitting in 11th, and then unfortunately for Harry, but Harry got a drive-through, which put me up into 10th, so scraped the point, which is good.
I said that through. I was like, oh, this is going to mean Curran gets some points. That's good but bad.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, what was the track conditions like out there?
Yeah, fine. Just standard, dry, good grip. Track limits for me is a bit of an issue around here. I was on 3 warnings, so that was another thing. I was trying to just make sure I didn't get my 4th warning. Ooh. That's obviously what happened to Harry. So yeah, it's just some of the corners you can just, yourself, Mackenzie, you can just drift wide enough to get a warning. And if you don't back out of it soon enough, that's when you get a warning. So yeah,
it's easily done.
Yeah, just need to be careful about that. But yeah, track was perfect, and it looks like it's going to be the same for second race, which is good.
Cool. All right, and I know qualifying for said second race coming up quite shortly, so I will put you back in the other chat with everyone else, mate. But yeah, thanks for that.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Yes.
There we are. See, practice.
I'm just going to go back to the pits. It's not that easy talking and driving, especially when it just springs up on you as well. That was always my pet hate, that if someone jumped on the radio to me mid-corner, I'd literally be fuming. Because it is distracting, isn't it? It can make you jump, especially you're almost better to have consistent communication at that point, so it doesn't make you jump. But when your race engineer or your team manager or someone comes in and they just jump on you like mid-corner, it makes you jump, doesn't it? So so you're better to just consistently be talking. I don't know if you felt like that when you was racing on radio.
Yeah, especially like the crackle of the radio coming in sometimes can be a bit of a thing. Yeah, that's where good engineers will know where you are on the track and wait until you're coming out of a hairpin before a long straight or something, won't they, to talk to you. Although then you might have to then try and press the push to talk button around a corner at high speed, but swings and roundabouts. All right, real quick then. Predictions for race 2. Personally, I'm interested to see what Chrissy Palmer does now without ballast, because I think he's going to be a little bit peeled off after having to drop backwards, because it's pretty disheartening falling back through a grid. So he's going to be fired up, which we know Chrissy's good at. And 2, he hasn't got any ballast, so that's kind of what I'm looking forward to. What about yourself?
I think sort of echo that. I think Chrissy is exactly literally what you said. Like, there's no point repeating it. I think he's going to be pretty lit up, isn't he? Through it. I think Stallman as well. I think he's going to be an
interesting battle, that.
Yeah, I think he's going to be exactly where he needs to be as well. And I think I'd throw Heath into it as well. I think he's going to be up there, but then we've got Bjorkman as well. I think it's going to be really tight, isn't it? Let's be honest. I think,
and Harry also will be trying not to get a drive through now for the next race, so he's got that to think about.
I think that's an interesting point with that one as well, isn't it? Is Harry maybe going to lose a little bit of pace on the early stages of the race to kind of then, when he needs to go back at someone, have that allowance of being able to run over? Clearly we've just spoken to Michael Curran, and that was something that he was having to manage as well. So track limits is an issue, and to be honest with you, coming into this circuit, I haven't driven it wouldn't have been a track that is known for me for that. Paul Ricard, we know, is massively known for that, and we didn't have that issue at all a couple of weeks ago, yet we've come into here and it is an issue. So
definitely. All right, well, qualifying is just about to start, folks, so stick with us. If you're there in chat and you've got any predictions that you want us to read out, whatever, let us know. Also, we will have the driver of the day vote going out halfway through this race as well, so you can vote for your favourite driver. Make sure you're there for that. So that'll be 30 minutes time as we're halfway through race 2, to literally just comment the name of your favourite driver, and then they get a point, and whoever gets the most votes wins a championship point. And you never know, sometimes these things do go down to single points, so those extra little points here and there can make a difference. I actually think it might be nice to do fastest lap as well for a future series. That's
I
always
think
a
we
good
should
one.
do fastest lap over driver of the day for the next round. I think you should throw that into the poll.
Or both. Why not both? More points. Screw the chat. You don't get to vote. Savage.
No, I don't mean it like that. But I'm just trying to mix things up.
All right, I think we're going to switch to qualifying. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, keep everyone happy. You know.
That's why we do the polls.
Oh, that's true. That is true. That's true.
Yeah. Cool. Right then. Drivers are making their way out for qualifying. 5 p.m. in game time at the moment. Very nice and sunny again. Currently, Liam Sharman at the top of the scoreboard, but of course, no one has set times yet, so that will all change as they start to flood through. How's everyone doing in the background then of our little team? George and Ben, are we both doing okay back there? Anything you'd like us to say? No, you can't have another can of Monster. You've already had one. Poor guy. He's just going to turn the server off one day and go. How's George doing? He's doing all right. Yeah, George is good. Okay, right. Well, everyone, let's bring our attention to race 2 then for this evening in qualifying. Drivers are on their out laps at the moment. Most of them did look like they headed out the pits pretty quickly. Ooh, Corhawk's back, I've just noticed.
Dun, dun, dun.
So he's in the pits at the moment. We've got Cola in as well, who's just joined.
There was a name that I recognised that's been in a few times before.
Was it BN?
No. Oh, are you taking the Mickey?
I wasn't actually.
Oh, okay.
I forgot he was joining as a player for a while.
I can't see him. I can't remember it either because I literally had a really quick glance at the screen. So I'll get back to you when I know who it is that come in. But he was
riveting stuff.
No, it's Reinberg. Was he? No, sorry. I'm trying to think, people. Okay. Reinberg, he wasn't in the first round.
He was part of Spearhead Race Engineering.
But was he in the first round?
He was, yeah. We just didn't catch much of him.
Oh, okay.
Although, actually...
I think he dropped out.
Didn't finish the race.
Yeah, before you all start jumping the gun here and taking the...
He was 16th in race 1.
Okay.
Sorry, Renberg. We do appreciate your efforts joining the race series.
We do, but hang on. Wasn't he at Paul Ricard?
He was...
The Lexus.
Yes.
Who literally had NOS or something attached to his car.
NOS.
And literally drove past everyone. So apologies, Reinberg, but I thought that you would be further up the grid because you had so much pace at that. So that I'm just recognising that I can see his name there. Because I think we've got that clip on Instagram as well. So
no, we haven't yet. Well, oh no, we have actually, yeah.
Georgie, if you haven't, probably think
no, he has.
Instagram.
What? No, I'm thinking I wanted to do like a little edit clip, but as you well know, work's been pretty mental lately, so I've not got around to doing that.
So just to put a bit of context and background, he literally drove past one person, drove in between the next person, drove past them, and then just drove off again. Like, it was just out of this world, wasn't it? What he did on there. So yeah, that's why we didn't go that far down in the grid because there was so much action happening. In top end of the grid or the slightly faster end of the grid.
Yeah, I was going to do some kind of mini type thing around that for sure, but I just haven't got around to it yet. It was like a rocket ship.
Okay. Well, we've got 6 cars that have put a time in so far. So sort of 5 or so minutes into qualifying at the moment, and we've managed to get a timing for some of those people. And again, it's something that we don't always find happens so early. So for anyone that's new on the grid, if you look slightly lower down, you can see, and maybe Ben, if we could put like the camera to Chrissy Palmer for this, actually, just to show us an example. It's shown that he hasn't got a time on his screen yet, just because he hasn't done a full shebang lap, really, has he yet?
Full shebang.
Well, full shebang. He hasn't set a time on the lap. It's not saying that he sat in the pit garage and we're talking this. What?
I don't know.
Why are you laughing at me? This is valid stuff that I'm saying. He could have done a lap, but gone so far off the track limits that it doesn't count as a lap.
Yes. He could have invalidated his lap. Yeah. Sorry, right, I'm with you now. I was actually laughing because the cars were just flying around all over the screen again, where we've been having connection issues. You probably won't see it on the live stream end, but so we have a separate screen, in-game screen up. And a minute ago, Sharman literally left the planet in-game on my screen, which was quite fun to watch, and then was back going across all the dirt, and then back on track, and then left the planet again. So, yeah, it's all been quite entertaining.
Okay, well, I'll get back to what people can see for that. So Chris is currently running in P1 at the moment. We're just currently watching him there. As you can see in the top left-hand corner of your screen, he is currently up. He's 2 temps up at the moment. Without 35 kilos of ballast this time as well, which is worth noting for it.
Yeah. It's kind of roles reversed a little bit. Stallman's got a bit of ballast. Chrissy has none, although Stallman doesn't have anywhere near as much. Dom Stallman, that is. Right, if we could go on board, then I can take everyone through a lap of the Hungaroring circuit. It's nice as it is in game, sunny afternoon. Heading into the last turn now. And as is tradition, he hasn't validated this lap as well. It's just gone red in the top left. So this one won't count, but he did set a lap somewhere because he is currently pole of a 44.0. That would have been a 43.9, so now he's got to try and do that again, but without invalidating it.
I'm on strike.
So here we come then into turn 2, which is the off-camber left-hand corner. Very difficult because the front just wants to wash out on you, and you can see the grip kind of runs out a little bit wider mid-corner, then comes back in again. Is this hard right fast curve that unsettles the car a little bit. We come uphill through the fast left. One of the easiest places to invalidate your lap here because you can run wide very easily. Holds it that time, you can see he just brushed the white line. As long as 2 wheels are on the tarmac and on the inside of those white lines, all is good. 2.5 temps up at the moment, so it's a good start to his lap so far. And as I say that, he just scrubs a load of speed off. But he can still bring it back in the final sector. So nice lap so far. A little bit scrappy at the chicane. In fact, he is going quicker still. No one has gone quicker yet on track than Chrissy has, and it is a strong time. Anything getting into those 43s is very, very good. So currently his valid lap is a 44.0. Coming in to round off the lap, found a little bit of time through that right-hander going into the final complex. Then turn 30. Fairly slow left-hand hairpin, but not too bad. And then coming into the final right-hand hairpin. They're very long, sort of flowing hairpins though. And you just want to get the power down, but you just have to wait, otherwise you run off track. And he's going to be 3 temps quicker by the looks of it, and goes 43.7. So there you go. That was a pretty nice little masterclass actually from Chrissy on what a lap should look like around Hungaroring. Right, who do we want to see next? Any thoughts?
Okay, I'm on strike. Yeah, I was on strike. No, absolutely no. I was doing some social media posts. I think. Should we jump on with Curran?
Look, he did it again.
Should we jump on with Curran because we haven't seen too much of him so far this evening, and if we are going to jump on potentially with him during the race, we'll see how we're getting on. I think it's probably a little bit unfair, but he did sign himself up to it. But let's have a look to see how he's going.
Just coming out of the last turn, which is a good timing as well.
Look at that, it's like I knew.
Do like that livery as well that they've got on the Spearhead Race Engineering car that they've done.
Do you know, my brain just completely went blank for the fact that he is in the Lexus and he's Spearhead like Bjorkman. I just had a complete lapse of memory coming into this round with that one. So again, I think having these teams as well is working really well because people are working together to test different things, set up. We know that time is fairly limited in the grand scheme of things. So it's just always good to have a teammate to bounce off of one another, and it makes it more realistic to the real world as well. It's really important to have teammates, isn't it?
Yeah.
Might not always get on with them, but
yeah, no, it does help, and certainly like testing setups. One person could go one way, one person can go another way, and then in one session you found out kind of which way was better for the car, in terms of, you know, whether it's roll bar stiffness, camber settings, dampers, aero, many different things that you can change with the car. You can try 2 things at once, which is good. So
just had a message from Warren. Warren's there. Should we jump on board with Heath once we're finished with looking at Curran and see how he's getting on? He's actually yet to set a lap at the moment, and we've got 4. Am I right in saying that? I'm just looking at my screen here, or is he?
Who's that?
No, he has set a lap. Sorry, so I'm looking at 2 different screens here. So let's jump on with Curran and with Heath. Sorry, just to see how he's getting on there in the Aston Martin.
Let's go on board, shall we, as well? You can see it from driver's eye view. There we are. Oh, look at that. Good timing, just as he pulls over to come into the pits.
For God's sake.
Every time. Kirk, what are you doing to us?
Okay, Warren, we'll keep an eye on him and see what he's doing at the moment. He's just put himself back into the garage at the moment. He's actually just about to go out though, so can we just jump back on, sorry, Benny, with Heath, and we can watch him do a full lap as he just is exiting out of the pit lane there.
So Heath in the Aston Martin, he has been doing some laps in the McLaren. As we said earlier, he's going to be with us on the InGear Motorsport, so he's joining the orange side for the next championship, which is starting in April. Official date yet to be confirmed, but you can come and start registering interest and just basically jumping in the Discord and letting people know that you want to join. We're doing fun races on the British tracks as well, of which we've got the last one that's scheduled in a couple of weeks, or next week technically, actually, at Alton Park. So if you want to come and join the fun race, then you can come and do that. Feel free to join in. The server is up and running. We've got a server running for the fun race testing the whole time. So that is for Alton Park at the moment. And then we always have testing running at least a week before for the track that the main championship is racing at as well. So this server has been up all week for everyone to test here. And as we say, a few of the guys make use of that, and particularly the Stallmans and Chrissy and I know Heath a little bit as well, have all been putting some laps in, and you know, as we said before, it shows because they are putting the times in at the front end of this quality, which is nearly finished already, believe it or not, as Heath comes out to round off his opening lap. Now that means then he's going to get one more shot to move himself up the grid from what is currently P9. I've just seen Chrissy's gone purple in sectors 1 and 2. And it doesn't actually work like that in the game. That's when I'm looking at a different time screen. My apologies. But he did run obviously a few laps ago when we were looking. That was when he did 43.7. So 43.7 is the time to beat. Heath will be looking to go a little bit quicker than his current best, which is currently 9th. We know he can go faster. Just got to see if he can do it now. Comes out of the hairpin of turn 1. Very hard corner that, because it's a very tight hairpin initially, but then it kind of opens out and you need to carry enough speed through to not just be caught napping on the exit. You drop down into turn 2, it's slightly off camber, slightly banked. The car feels like it's got no grip. It's not a very nice place to be, even with a car with as much aero as a GT3 car. Run up the back straight, fast left. Notice you can't see the apex, you can't see the corner until you actually get there, so you need to know when to turn in. And then very, very tricky fast right-hander, because the corner just keeps on coming. You want to get the power down. If you're not careful, you run too wide, and as we've seen, invalidate the lap, which in the race, if you do 3 times in a row and then do it a 4th, you then get a penalty, which is what Melvin did, and dropped from 5th to 11th in the space of literally 1 pit straight. It just shows how damaging they are. It's interesting, isn't it? Because so many drivers, they'll keep their foot in just for that extra 100th to go a little bit wider on the way out and keep their foot buried, rather than lift off and not get a warning. But it's so easy in the heat at the moment to do that.
I think at that point, that's just when it's like trying to have that kind of like in a sense of calm and just knowing that kind of less is more. And I think it's that whole thing, isn't it, of knowing when to push and when to just when to not, because you will run out of lives, won't you, at the end, whether it's lives because you push track limits and the game pushes you off, or lives because you just push it that step too far and the tyres give way, and that's it, and that's the end of it.
Yeah, so there's all these sorts of things to think about in a race environment for sure. Just looking then, Chrissy Palmer still hanging on to pole at the moment as the final drivers are on their laps. Dominic Stallman, you can see on your screen, is currently up trying to set himself a lap time. So we'll see if he can manage one. Corhorp's in the pit lane, Curran's in the pit lane, Chrissy's in the pit lane. So most of the drivers are all back now. It's just if Dominic Stallman can do anything. I think we'll finish this lap and then we will cut straight to the ad break after that before we then head into race 2 for this evening. So what are we, 1.5, 1.4 tenths up as we come into the final complex of the lap. And he's a 44.9 at the moment. So it won't be enough to go pole for sure. It's actually down in 7th. So we've got Bjorkman's gone very fast, Mitchell's gone very fast. Mitchell been brought in by Curran, I think they work together. So he joined us a couple of races ago, which is good to see him here. And Dominic Stallman did jump a little bit up into P4, but we'll go through the full grid order very shortly, people. Just cutting away for a second, and then we'll be back with you. Along everyone for the final race of the evening and round 6 of the GT3 Euro Series. Drivers on the grid ready to go, and it's Chrissy Palmer who's looking to make amends for race 1 with all that ballast. He's got no ballast and on pole position again, so looking good for him for a second race tonight. Corhorp is back, not part of the championship but here to get stuck in the middle anyway. Bjorkman is in the championship and he's currently championship leader when you don't take into account drop scores, in 3rd on the grid. Dominic Stallman in the Porsche in 4th, Mitchell in 5th for Spearhead Race Engineering. 6th is Melvin, so that's a slight improvement for him in qualifying. Roland Stallman in 7th for Vegas Sim Performance. Curran, who we were talking to just a few moments ago, is in P8. Heath a little bit lower down this time, a little bit out of position, so he'll be good to come back through in P9 for sure. And M Happy Life rounds out the top 10. Not one of the regular drivers, but
I love the name though. Like
that's great, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Renberg is back there in 13th as well, and Sharman was there, but I think he's just gone. Is he? 18th?
Yeah, he's there. He's there.
Sorry, everyone. It's that time of night when my eyes start going. Right, drivers begin their formation period. Let's get ready then. You can see as we have the helicopter cam, Ben Meekle's flying that himself at the moment in game. Race director doing a fantastic job there. Looks like Mitchell lost out a little bit on the start in the second black Lexus, but the 2 orange cars get away well. The McLaren of Chrissy Palmer has the inside line. On the right-hand side is the AMG of Corhorp, previous race winner. Gets a bit bunched up, and actually Melvin just nudging into Stallman there. Just literally couldn't get the car stopped. And it looks like Corhorp's actually running into the side of Bjorkman a little bit as well, as they go along the straight there. And yeah, and actually that was all Corhorp's. That one. Definitely didn't stop, and that's caused absolute chaos through the back end of the grid as you have drivers going through.
coming off towards the back there. So Chrissy has lost out massively there because of Corhawk. I mean, he didn't stop that car. Let's not beat around the bush and try and cover that one up. So race director will be looking in the background at that one and making a decision on that. I think kind of what my decision probably would be on there, because
yeah, I mean, you can see there was a different. Oh my God, you just see the two Spearhead Racing cars there. Mitchell and Bjorkman nearly running. Oh, Renberg, that is. Yeah, that's Renberg. Just a bit further back, sorry, off the camera there. We're still looking on the other screen. We've got Dominic Stallman then is behind Mitchell, who's currently in the lead. So that really shook things up a little bit. And if we just jump back a couple places to 7th, 8th, 9th is where there's a bit of a fight going on at the moment. I can see Stallman will be challenging Mitchell for a lead shortly, but not quite yet, because there's all sorts going on then between Curran, Palmer, Palmer trying to deal with what happened earlier on, and Corhawk actually has just gone into the side of someone else there to get past them. So that one you probably would have let go if it weren't for the aggression in turn 2. But we'll see what happens with that. Race control will have a little look at it, and then they
we've actually just heard from race control that for the incident that happened very early on in the race, I think turn 1, that he's going to get a drive-through penalty for that, which I think is more than fair considering what's going on here. It's very, very aggressive driving with that. So that's car number 8, the AMG GT of Corhawk there, who's going to be getting a drive-through. And you can see he's squeezing the Lexus through there as well of Curran. So we're watching on different screens here to get that. But Stallman, Heath, Mr. Happy Life, they've made it through. We're looking at Melvin on another screen here as well. They're looking all good and just sort of kind of slowly kind of just getting away and getting through the chaos there.
Yeah, well, that certainly shook the order up, and you know, I hope that there's not too much damage for the cars that managed to keep it going. I think everyone managed to more or less keep going. Bjorkman's down in 11th, so he definitely come off quite badly out of all of that. It's hard to take it all in again. Just with the way everything's working, we can't get the replays up on here, but we can put them on our socials. So that'll be getting clipped. So from a few angles for turn 2, wasn't it, of the opening lap, the front sort of 4 or 5 cars, and then it just spiraled into most of the pack having to avoid it. It's a really hard corner. The cars, and I can see in the background of the shot there, you can just see who was that.
Bjorkman, Gindry.
Bjorkman and Gindry. Okay, yeah.
Can we change the camera view? I know, Ben, you've got quite a lot going on at the moment in the background, but when and if you can, if we can just drop it down to a slightly lower one so we can just see a little bit more. So maybe if we jump on board with Curran just to see how he's getting on there.
You've also got a car sat at the exit of the pit lane that we need to that will be getting dealt with as well if he doesn't move soon. I don't know if that's just what I'm seeing on my screen, but I'm trying to keep up on both screens as we monitor this for you people. Well, that was certainly an interesting start. As Pauline has joined us on Twitch as well, hello. Yeah, you joined us as we've got loads of new names, and some of them quite enjoyed crashing into each other just now. After a very, very close and clean race 1, that was not the start for race 2, but all the regulars are kind of still running, I think. It's just Bjork I need to try and check now. So Curran's down in 20th after his disaster. Now, it looks like Corhawk has served that drive-through penalty, which, fair play, I was expecting him just to leave the server. Oh, as I say that, he's left the server, I've just been told. Although I think I can see him, but it must be not updating my end. No, he just said sorry in chat.
Okay, so
sorry. Right, let's move on.
Good to see that Curran's kind of getting back up and running. He's got a little bit of, well, let's not beat around the bush. He's got quite a lot of work to do there. Currently in P19, absolute nightmare. Not himself to blame. So he's very good at not getting too emotional about it and just getting his head down and just cracking on with it, as we see. I think that was Sharman in the background disappearing off of that. So this is the complete polar opposite to race 1, where it was close but relatively easy to manage. So if and when we can, Ben, again, I know you've got a lot going on in the background, if we can jump up to the top end of the grid and have a look at Mitchell for us. who is, I mean, he's made his way up the order a little bit compared to race
one. After all that chaos at the start, yeah.
He's come out a winner there.
We just saw it. You didn't see it on the stream, but we just saw Mitchell went a bit deep into turn 1 and has literally just handed the lead to Dominic Stallman. So that's just literally happened. He'll be trying to fix that. And look at that, Roland Stallman running in P3. So was down in something like 7th or 8th and is now up into P3. So that's a solid points haul for Vegas Sim Performance. Obviously, you know, there's a long way to go yet.
I think it's that whole thing. Usually when you qualify top to mid grid, I think is the expression for it. So anything that's P5 and down is what I class to top to mid, or mid to top is probably the better way of putting it, are actually the winners out of that situation of what was caused there by the AMG GT. So he started in P9, which we know was out of place for him for the amount of pace that he had in race 1. He's clawed it back up to P4, which is really good news. Nice to see Stallman back up the seriously pointy end and finished just inside the points in P9 in the last race. Yeah, like you say, solid points for Vegas Sim if they can pull this off. I mean, we have got another 23 minutes to go. We've just had absolute carnage in the first. First 8 minutes of it, but that's good to see. Melvin's made it through fairly unscathed. Chrissy was the biggest casualty of that one, and he will be seething for that, and rightly so.
Still seeing that Ferrari sat at the end of the pit, but I don't know if it's on. I don't think it's on the live stream version. So George or Ben can let me know in my ear about that if there is an issue. But that's fine then. Cool. Well, that was fun, wasn't it, everyone? Lots going on there.
I'm tired now.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to digest everything and everything that went in. I mean, hopefully, as I say, again, when there's a replay up, if someone can let me know about that, and I can have a look as well. But that'll be on our social media. So check out InGear Motorsport on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or whichever one you prefer. So we'll put the replay up across those for us to look, because that was a pretty chaotic start. So, Dominic Stallman then has himself a little bit of a gap. Now, one thing I was going to say just now is Mitchell is in the Lexus, which we saw really coming alive towards the end of race 1. And Dominic Stallman's got 10 kilograms of ballast, which we saw really hurt Chrissy in race 1. As we know, the temperature starts to drop as it gets a little bit later. Time is going a bit faster than real time. So while it's 6:40 in game time now, as we saw in the first race, it starts getting into sort of 8:30 onwards for the sort of latter stages of the race. So that also has an effect on grip levels. The track gets colder, therefore the tyres have to work harder to stay warm. If they don't stay warm, you really, really know about it. And I think that's what really hurt Chrissy, as I say. So what else have we got? I'm just trying to pick out where we might have some gaps worth looking at, as this front 3 or 4 cars look fairly set for the time being, but I wouldn't be surprised if that bunches up, like I say. Right. Oh, Heath's under fire then in P4. If we drop back to that, please, race director. And Chrissy is into 6th place and potentially going to get both of them as they're running 3 abreast. Are we switched to that now? Yes, we are. My stream version is really pixelated at times, but there we are. Right then. Chrissy's challenging Heath for 5th place. And, oh, there's Happy Life. We didn't actually get to see the car first in qualifying, did we? But there's Happy Life.
Sweet.
I'm trying to think of something else to say about that.
I just love it. It reminds me of like a Mr. Men. You know, like
what, Mr. Happy?
Mr. Grumpy, and Mr. Tickles. It reminds me of that. So, yeah, well done you, because you've made us smile on a Tuesday evening with that. So if that's what you're going for, it's work there.
Yeah.
So Chrissy is putting Heath here under some serious pressure, and again we've spoken a little bit kind of middle of that sandwich is a really, really difficult position to manage and to be in. Chrissy will be biding his time. You see Heath there, he's actually starting to yield to a little bit of that pressure already, isn't he, where he's starting to run offline.
Yeah,
you can just see the mistakes happening a tiny bit there. Chrissy going for a look there, trying to take the inside line, looking like he's going to
Yorkman as well, maybe. Oh, yeah, that was close. There's a tiny bit of contact there. That's when it's really, really hard. And again, that might just be our view, our end. It's always sometimes different when you actually see the driver's view. I think if they did touch, it was very, very light. And actually, even still, Heath stay where he was, Bjorkman stay where he was. But I think that might change as we come into the next corner there. Oh, I thought Heath might have got brought round there, but they gave each other enough space. So yeah, Bjorkman in the sort of black and gold Lexus, Heath in the Aston Martin with the blue and black colouring as they come into turn 2, drop downhill. Heath has the inside line, still hanging on to it for the moment, but then Bjorkman might get the run for the next one, but has to yield once more. And all the while, the cars ahead are now pulling away that little bit from both of this pair. Cars ahead being Chrissy and Mr. Happy Life, then they've got themselves a nice gap.
I mean, they've just pulled quite a big gap out there. And question for you then, Mackenzie. So we're looking at the stream that everyone's following can see, but we're also looking at your inside the game view here. Now, going down the straight, we can see that there's a Ferrari on your game and a yellow flag being pulled out there. Ooh.
After all that hard work to defend the place, we just saw Heath drop a wheel on the grass, and that is all it took to give Bjorkman the inside and get the run. And Heath will now have a tyre that's just that little bit dirty that needs to clear up for a few corners. So, I haven't said it for a while, but when you do a mistake like that, you don't pay once, you pay twice, because he's now going to drop a little bit of speed.
It's very, very true.
Sorry, carry on, yeah, about the Ferrari.
I just want to kind of raise this point here. So, in the game, you can see yellow flag Ferrari at the end of the pit lane. Will the guys be seeing that as well?
Someone might, but I think we've been having internet issues on our end. I think it's just us.
Only a question to ask, because that's quite detrimental if you see that. Because if I saw that, you have to kind of back off a little bit. I wouldn't say, but that was quite a big gap that got established within 2 corners. So if Chrissy and if Heath and Bjorkman, if that's what they were seeing, you can understand how that, that gap kind of put itself. I mean, it's a 2-second gap between Bjorkman and that sort of pack of Bjorkman and Heath against Chrissy and Mr. Happy Life, or Mrs. Happy Life, Life, yeah. So it was just a question that was going to, just to throw it out there.
Yeah, it's probably just our end, but it could be other ends as well. There's sometimes little bugs like that. I mean, at Brands Hatch early on in this game, there used to be a marshal that would just constantly wave a blue flag at the penultimate corner, which was always quite a bit off-putting for a while until I figured out that it was just a glitch. Because I was like, well, there's no one behind me. Why is he waving a blue flag? But if you don't know your flags, blue flag means there's a faster car approaching and you should allow it to pass without blocking it. Don't necessarily move over, but you certainly don't block it. Right.
Yeah, and I think on that, that's probably a good time to say there's rules that are in the rule books that seem like they make sense, but they absolutely do not make sense if used in the real world. There's certain for
sim racing, you mean?
Yeah. But there's certain unsaid rules that you would move out of the way, and you'd be expected to move out of the way of a faster car as long as you wasn't literally stopping on the apex or pulling over somewhere dangerous. You can actually see people slow down too much in a blue flag situation, whereas that's actually as dangerous as anything else with it. So let's take a look further up then. So we spent a bit of time on Mr. Heath's car. Let's have a look at Chrissy Palmer, who's making some good moves up the pack, isn't he? Had quite a turbulent start to the race. So he's 4 tenths off of Mr. Happy Life, but actually very hard to see them come through that corner because that sun is so low.
It's not nice in the car either, is it?
No, it's not nice at any time, is it? But he's definitely starting to eye him up to see where that overtake. I don't think it's going to be an if. I think it'll be a when.
Car 32 drive-through penalty. That is FRI. Not one of the regulars, but a bit out of the points anyway. If he was. Well, halfway, things have only just started to settle down to figure out who's where. Now, shall we go on board with Chrissy? Because what I'd love everyone to see is that when the sun does come in your eyes, how hard it can be. So we go on board in that cockpit of that McLaren. The orange, red and black and gold McLaren of Chrissy Palmer's colour choices. And as I said earlier, the orange is forced upon him. I've just heard that Melvin's got a drive-through as well.
Oh, no, not again, Harry.
Team boss won't be happy with that one.
And how do you feel about that?
Luckily, this is all for fun. So you can see the sun peeking through there. It's not too big an issue yet, but I mean, Charlotte will tell you as well, in the real world, when particularly if there's a slightly damp track and it's sunny, it's so hard to see.
Yeah.
And you do still get this in the game as well. I think it's as they go through the next sector, so sector 1, it's at its worst.
I think if we put this into maybe a more relatable way, if we're driving along the motorway and the sun's coming down, and it might have been raining a bit before, we know how glary it is, exactly the same, apart from when you're going down the motorway, you're only going fast in a straight line.
Yeah, and there's no one trying to overtake you or running next to you.
And you're not trying to go through the corner literally as fast as you can on slick tyres.
Well, if you're just joining this race, it's the battle for 4th place at the moment between newcomer M Happy Life and Chrissy Palmer. I need to find out what M Happy Life's first name is in a minute, because he just joined last minute, will she? I think the sun's actually has dropped in the space of that lap out of the way. Although we've had it officially confirmed from the powers that be that it is in fact Mark. So there you go. Mark Happy Life, everyone. That's who we're chasing. Well, yeah, I was hoping to see the sun first. GPX Racing, I've just heard he's racing for. There you go. I was just waiting to see the sun peek through the trees, but where the time multiplier I think is set to 3 times normal speed, it's the time we've done a lap, the sun's then behind the trees now, so we haven't really seen that. But you have seen what it's like to follow closely in game. Between a very busy on the wheel, actually, Chrissy Palmer, you can see he's having to fight a little bit of oversteer in that car. Generally speaking, that's how this car tends to be. There's a lot of forward rake on the car, so makes the back feel very light when you're driving it, and very easy to, as we can see, get oversteer. That was worse for him, compounded by the fact that he had 35 kilograms of ballast to deal with. But Tom Stallman out front's got that issue this time, not quite as much, only 10, but we'll check in on that soon, as he's pulled out a 2.2 second gap up ahead on the field. I thought Chrissy was going to have a bit of a look at Happy Life, but where he's potentially just losing a bit of downforce, perhaps that's what it is that's costing him just the ability to get past. What would you say you're typically thinking when you're trying to get past a car like this? How do you go about doing it?
I think you've got to pick your... And as I say that, I was going to say pick your moments. Very, very well avoided there by Chrissy. Like,
yeah.
Going to use such a cheesy phrase there, but that was racing driver reactions right there. If you ever see it, that's when you can look past the mistake that's happening and throw your eyes off to get the car move somewhere else rather than fixating on what's about to happen.
That's a good point, actually.
It's such a cheesy thing, but where your eyes are, your hands follow, and it's so easy in that situation where you're kind of locking up about to plough into the back of someone that you carry on looking at them, but if you can get your eyes off, your foot will just slightly ease off the brake a little bit and free the car up to move out of the way.
I was just going to say, it's the fact that you come off the brake, you have the ability to turn again, isn't it?
So, super good job there, and you can see straight back on, maybe lost a little bit of time there, but still.
This could be the run that he needed. Here he comes down into turn 12, dropping down the hill into the fast right. Oh, the Porsche goes late on the brakes. Can they both get it stopped? Now the Porsche has the inside, so Chrissy needs to try and get a better run into the next segment. Porsche has the inside line now. Chrissy has to go wide, and in fact, Bjorkman comes into the mix as well and gives Chrissy a little donk for good measure. Chrissy wouldn't have been expecting Bjorkman to be there. Bjorkman probably didn't expect Chrissy to try and come back on.
Bjorkman seems to be there right at the right time to utilise on when someone else is making the move.
Yeah,
he's done that a few times now, which is very, very clever by him. Great driving. So Chrissy's lost out a little bit there, but I wouldn't. He will be back in that mix very, very soon, but he's just made it a little bit harder work for him. But I think what I was going to say prior to that is all about picking your time, isn't it? And I think maybe a little bit too early there for that one. Size it, just size it up. Well driven though, by Happy Life and Chrissy Palmer, because they all managed to stay on track. There was no big donks or anything like that, which is always what we like to see.
So, still Dominic Stallman out front at the moment. Matt Mitchell in second. Rowan Stallman in third. Good points for Vega Sims still on the board after not perhaps as many as they would have liked in the first one, but Dom had a very good result. Bjorkman in 5th as we're now watching this battle, and he's challenging for 4th by the looks of it very shortly. So Happy Life actually is probably holding these guys up a little bit, and they can't seem to get past. And that'll be after that turn 2 incident on lap 1. They just he's probably a little bit further up the grid than where he qualified, and now these guys are settled. They're putting the laps in and romping up behind him.
Just why things have settled down ever so slightly there. So should we just check back in with Heath, because he is just behind this pack. So I'm just trying to see. So he's about 3 seconds off this pack at the moment. Just to check in and see how he's going with 8 minutes to go.
Yeah, last lap was a 46.5, and then the leaders, if we look at it in that way, 45.2, 45.5. So he's about a second off the pace that he probably needs to, the guys ahead. But as we know, Chrissy and Bjorkman are pretty fast. Yeah,
and he's not chasing. He's in quite a lonely position at the moment, isn't he? Where he's not actually chasing anyone. He's in his own territory, which does have an effect on times, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of no man's land, you sometimes refer to it as. Just seeing Chrissy is now back onto the back of Bjorkman, 1 car up the road again where we just were. I think that could develop into a bit of an overtake fairly soon. And these two are fighting for the championship. So although it's 6th and 5th on track.
Yeah, sorry, I was just going to say to Ben if we could drop on there, but he's done it, so I'll shut up.
He's monstered up enough to get that one.
Yeah, that was lightning speed.
I also noticed a minute ago, just having a look down the timing screen, that Melvin is in P11 after his drive-through, 5 seconds off the car ahead, which is Curran. So might be able to...
I'm getting told off by Race Direct there because I went onto social medias to have a look on InGear Motorsport. A video played, so apologies everyone, but yeah.
So how are we looking then? Still Chrissy Palmer trying to get past on this Lexus at the moment. And by the way, if anyone wants to give a driver a vote, I wouldn't even know where to think about putting driver of the day vote. I'm going to be biased today. But yeah, if you want to vote for your favourite driver, then the driver with the most votes across all the different chats will get a championship point. So feel free to do that. Again, driver of the day vote, just put a comment in the chat of the driver of your choice, and then they will get a championship point. Well, the one with the most votes will anyway. Oh, I'm tempted to look elsewhere, tempted to stay here. It's hard to say. I mean, especially after that race 1, stuff just kept kicking off all over the grid, didn't it?
Shall we check in with the top bunch and have a look at the Stallmans and Mitchell, because Mitchell's actually finding himself in a Stallman sandwich at the moment, which we actually haven't been able to say for the last couple of rounds. So it's nice to see, and I did actually call it, albeit I don't think it's happened in the way it should have. I think that first lap incident had a lot to do with that. To help Roland kind of back up his well on the grid. But either way, it's good to see him back up there. So a couple of seconds between Roland, Stallman and Mitchell, and then just having a look here, Mitchell is that 9/10? Even with my glasses on, I can't actually.
0.7.
0.7.
Yeah.
Okay.
Close enough.
7 and a 9 basically looks the same. So,
doesn't it?
I mean, I am looking at it on a Mac, so it's pretty small.
Cool. Well, yeah, I think with the last few laps coming up now, this could get quite interesting for the race win, couldn't it? We've not seen Mitchell in this position yet on one of the live stream races. I know he's been at the sharp end of some of the fun races that we've done. So I'll be interested to see how he handles this. Obviously, we know Chrissy and Dom have raced against each other quite a lot, so they've got enough experience with that, but and what to expect. But yeah, these two not so much. But as we say that, it looks like the gap's yo-yoing a little bit, doesn't it? Back and forth. Still, we get to enjoy that wonderful livery. Actually, it's another thing that the guys do for these races. A lot of them put a lot of time and effort into, making these liveries. Charlotte's making faces at me because she wants one for when she's playing the game. What would be your ideal livery?
Not too pink. I to be honest with you, I know that the car that I picked was all pink, but that's because I wasn't being too fussy. It's always been one of those things, actually, interesting enough, and you sort of see it on my social media and stuff like that. My helmet was very pink at the front, but never at the back, and that stems a lot from karting, because you did, like, let's be honest, putting pink on the back of your helmet and a little bit of blonde hair, like, or the hair poking out the back, is usually a little bit of an added target, even more so. So I was always really conscious that I had blues and greens and stuff like that on the back, which I love.
Yeah.
But yeah, a little bit of pink, but yeah, I let you something that would match my helmet, but in a.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, that is a good idea.
I'm not the first one I've had, so full of them.
Not your first what?
Not my first good idea that I've had. You're looking at me like, what?
You can tell we've both had busy days at work, can't you?
I'm kind of delirious.
Yeah, losing the plot.
Do you want to talk about electric cars, anyone?
Yeah.
Literally what I've been
very
about
different.
all day.
Very different to what we're doing here. No,
Important for motorsport though, going forward, but yeah, not for this evening, that's for sure.
No, come join us in Clubhouse, something like that. It's getting closer, isn't it? It's getting closer. We've now got a couple laps left to go. Charlotte does it again. It's all going wrong.
Every time I go on Instagram, I'm not going on Instagram anymore. I'll leave it.
Ronan Stallman's just dropped back enough. He could still come quickly into contention, but he's 5 seconds back now, so he must have made a mistake somewhere. This is where the fight is at, and let's just keep an eye. We've still got Happy Life in 4th, Bjorkman in 5th, Chrissy in 6th, half a second behind Bjorkman. So Chrissy and Bjorkman still having a bit of a battle a bit further down. I just feel like the lead could change at any minute. So with the closing stage to this race, this is probably where we should keep the camera for the moment. Don't forget, driver of the day. If you want to vote for your favourite driver, chop it in the chat, and then we can see driver with the most votes gets a point in the championship, which is going to be very close actually. You know, still, Chrissy and Melvin had a stonking last race, and then they've had just average points currently this race. In fact, Melvin got no points in the first race after that drive-through, and is he going to get points this race? 6 seconds back from a point scoring position at the moment. I think that's looking unlikely, but still, the battle is raging on, and I bet Mitchell is pushing as hard as he possibly can. And you don't know how much Dominic Stallman is just controlling that gap, given the experience he's got out front, just putting in sensible, fast lap times and consistently. You know, he's got to keep the car on the straight and narrow, but they always say to finish first, you must finish, and he's very good at doing that and just putting those times in. As car 27, that's Melvin again, isn't it? He's just got another penalty.
He's having an absolute mare, isn't he?
Yeah. It's so soul-destroying as well, knowing that little tenth that you gained from going slightly wide on a corner or cutting it has then just cost you running through the pits at 31 miles an hour. It's just not fun at all. So I reckon maybe we try running on board with Mitchell just for a minute, just so we can start to see now as the light's dropping, the battle intensifies. We're on the penultimate lap now of this race. If he's going to do it, it's going to be very, very soon. But it's also very solid points just to sit where he is and accept the P2, isn't it?
Yeah, he's looking as well. You can see it, he's pushing hard. You can see that was quite twitchy just coming out there. With the time that's left, again, twitch coming out the corner. It's almost every time he's putting his foot in, the car's getting a little bit out of shape, and fair play to him, he's managing it. But I think at times you kind of need to know when points mean prizes and no points mean no prizes. Yeah, is the way to look at it.
Just monitoring that gap as well. Chrissy's 6 tenths back in 6th place behind Bjorkman in 5th. Happy Life has broke away by about a second. Warren, I just saw.
I was just going to say my restream hasn't updated it, but just looked on YouTube.
Yeah, Warren, he's new in terms of we've not seen him before. He's not registered for the actual championship. Although, if Happy Life does happen to watch, I'd love to have him because quite nice to see the words Happy Life in the leaderboard.
And Warren, yeah, absolutely. You probably could tempt me because 38 is my in Heathrow by accident. In how I'm a battle for number 38. Who's gonna have? Can I sign up now, or I mean, we might have to.
Kirk knows what's good for him. He'll probably just
we'll have to come for a deal. I don't think I would take it from him after racing with it for so long now. So yeah, we'll see.
Well, there we are. We're halfway around the lap, and it looks like, dare I say it, Dominic Stallman's going to take. It's not been as many lately, but he's going to take another win. He's certainly been here before, but he's had to work harder for this one. And I know they put a lot of laps in testing over the last couple of days, and it looks like it is about to pay off with a P2 in race 1 and a P3 in race 3. So it's going to be very much all to play for when we come to Catalonia in a couple of weeks' time for the 90-minute special. But Dominic Stallman crosses the line to take the win for round 6 of the GT3 Euro Series. Great drive by him with 10 kilograms of ballast. That's going to go up for the next race. That'll be interesting to see as well. Mitchell, great effort. Podium, P2. Good job, and again, more points for Spearhead Race Engineering, who are currently in the lead of the team scores.
Yeah, they're doing a very good job, aren't they, in the team side?
Yeah, Lexus is handling very nicely for them as well. But Roland as well, welcome back to the podium for Roland Stallman, the other Vegas Sim driver.
Yeah, that's been a little while, hasn't it?
Him? Yeah, no, definitely. And again, I see they put some good laps in practicing in the last couple of days, and it's just because I happened to be on the server at the same time. As I know Christy was as well and was doing some good times. Just saw on my screen Dom doing some little skids. Rex, if you put the camera back to Dom Stallman, he's doing some nice little skids and running and
let him have his moment.
Yeah, let the race winner have his moment on the in lap. So the two white Porsches for Vegas Sim, good job by them.
Yeah, nice to kind of see them reunited like that as well. That's good to see. It's good to see.
So it's the Germans taking good points in Budapest then, and Mitchell hanging in there for Team Scotland, one of the many Scots that we've had come in and out of the racing with us. But just him and Curran tonight, representing Team Scotland. Got a few from the UK, of course, from England as well. Dan, not much of him anymore. And then Bjorkman from Sweden. So quite an international. Maybe.
IKEA. No, I'm joking. Big car brand.
Well, good racing by everyone there. I think we'll just have a quick wrap up of that and digest what just happened.
Look at those two coming back in. I think they're pretty happy with that, aren't they? You can kind of tell. Yeah.
We're just watching Vegas Sim there before we cut back to us. Sorry about that. Everyone got a cuss now. Yeah. But Vegas Sim there on their way in together. But great result by them. I think our internet's been having all sorts of problems tonight. One of the wonders of live streaming, so we'll just have a really short wrap up and then end it there rather than trying to do interviews and stuff.
Ahead.
Yeah, we'll quit while we're ahead. We've just had some good racing. Bit of a chaotic start, but it made for I say unexpected result. It's kind of not in the grand scheme of things, but still we haven't seen that for a while.
Tough going for Chrissy though.
Yeah, that'll be hard.
Really tough going for Chrissy. I think that was
But no ballast for Chrissy moving into the final race. So that will potentially help him, and it's double points because they just do one race for double points rather than two races. and it's 90 minutes. So, you know, he's definitely got plenty of opportunity still. Coming into this on drop scores, he would have been the leader of the championship. Of course, that'll be a little bit different now, but still scored points in both races. So yeah, I think good for him. He should hold his head up and pole in both, just through a bit of bad luck and ballast in race one, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Melvin's obviously had a bit of a nightmare with those drive-throughs.
Yeah.
I'll talk to him afterwards.
Debrief at the end, I think.
I'll see what happened there. I won't pull him up now in the live stream because I think we keep cutting off. But I think.
Sorry, as you say that on YouTube, Harry Melvin, what a flop, full stop. So,
oh, there we are. Well, yeah, Harry, we've just saved you having to come up to commentary box, but yeah, well, I'll speak to you, I'm sure, find out what's going on. But still, you know, great points in the first race that Harry did. And again, he's on for a good finish in the championship with the double points next time. Yeah, and consistent.
Yeah.
You know, consistently off the track this time, mate. So we'll sort that out for next time. But consistently fast, which is the main thing. So, yeah, all right. Well, I think we'll wrap that up there. If you've got any last things to add in.
Yeah, no, brilliant. Great to see some fast people join. Hopefully we'll see them back in the coming weeks, and we'll keep you updated on the British rounds that are coming up and things like that as well. But you know, if you're thinking about joining, you want to know how the points are going to work and things like that, jump into our Discord now, because that also gives you an opportunity to have a say in how it's going to run as well.
Yeah, and get a feel for it and meet everyone and so on. Cool. All right, well, thanks very much for watching, everyone. Thanks for the comments and stuff tonight. Good to see you all again. As I say, we're back in 2 weeks time for the final round, so please join us then. Thanks to Ben and George in the background as well, and we will see you soon. Bye for now.
Perfect, thanks.
Ain't shady, baby, I'm hot like the prodigal son.
There we go, green lights, camera off once again.
I'm hot like the prodigal son. Big up Bartolini, meeny, money, mo, and flower. You're the chosen one.